Welcome everybody to our Nomasis webinar. My name is Nadine and I'm pleased to introduce to you Philip from PointSharp, who will be presenting today. Today's webinar is about how to become truly passwordless, and the session lasts about 30 to 45 minutes. So please notice that during the presentation your microphones will be set to mute. You may post questions during the session through the chat functions to the host, and the questions will then be answered at the end of the webinar by Philip. And now I'd already like to hand over to Philip, so please start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Nadine. Thank you for your introduction. Yeah, you heard already my name. I'm Philip Rauch. I'm Business Development Manager for PointSharp. And yeah, the topic for today is passwordless authentication. So first of all, our problems with passwords, that's the first point on the agenda. And what is passwordless authentication and the benefits of going passwordless, also the different types of passwordless and where to start if you want to start. And Nadine already said it, the end, the questions. And so I just begin with the first topic. So why you should implement passwordless authentication. So what is the problems with passwords? And the first problem is security. Because when you think of passwords, when I would choose a password, I would choose a password that I can easily remember. And easy remember passwords are short. And you already know the problem with short passwords. They're more easy to crack. And I've got one example. If you choose an 8-character password with uppercases and numbers, then a brute force attack will only need like just about 3.5 minutes to crack that password, and your security is gone. So to prevent this, you make rules for your passwords. You say, okay, you have to choose long passwords, complicated passwords, and that's good. The longer the password, the harder it gets for example, brute force or just to guess the password. But I've got one question for all. Do you recognize this with long passwords? Not even on a paper like this, you see, like you see here, maybe also digital. So if I have a long password to remember, that's hard for me. I can't remember this password, so I write it on a piece of paper, or I write it digitally somewhere down. And then we already have the next problem. That's the danger of leaks. And this is the next point. Not only leaks for your system are the problems, because we have in 2018 research shown that there were about 12.5 billion leaked account details. And that is the big problem, because not only I will write my password down if it's hard to remember, I will choose the same password I have for business also in my private systems, and that's the big problem. You don't have the control over the password. Maybe some of your employees take their passwords they use for business and use them otherwise, and then these other sites get attacked, and there's a big leak, and then you have one of the biggest problems, because 25% of employees use the same password everywhere, and you don't even notice when the password is leaked. So that's a problem. If I lose my phone, if I lose something, I recognize it. I remember, oh, where's my phone? Did it get stolen? Did I lose it? With the password, it's not the same. I don't know if my password got leaked, and so it is with your employees. You don't know if a password has been leaked. And so we got the bold statement: no password at all is even or actually better than a strong password. And so we can talk about passwordless authentication. What is passwordless authentication? Quite easy. I want to log in somewhere, and everything I give for that is nothing to remember. So anything like a password doesn't count. Nothing to remember, no knowledge-based factor. As it says, passwordless, no PIN, no password, nothing. Passwordless factors are two things. The first thing is something I am, something you are. For example, your fingerprint, face recognition, face ID from your iPhone. We know that voice recognition and also a retinal scan. So something I am, something I have with me as a person. So that identifies me as myself, as for example, fingerprint or face recognition. And a second factor is something I have. For example, my mobile phone. And there's already the first connection you have for multi-factor authentication. That's two factors here. So something I have is the first factor and something I am is the second factor. And those two combined are multi-factor authentication. For example, if I log in my mobile phone with Face ID to access, for example, or to deny or give access to my account, then I have multi-factor authentication. So, and that's the difference between a multi-factor authentication and passwordless multi-factor authentication, because I can use multi-factor authentication with a password to log in somewhere, but that's not passwordless because I use the password, and that's multi-factor. And multi-factor authentication without passwords is something I am and something I have. So it sounds cool, it sounds all right, but what are actually the benefits of going passwordless besides the safety? So we already learned about that it's more safe to go passwordless than to use a password, but what are the other benefits? Just here. So the first thing is not using passwords saves you money, also a bold statement, and that's not just an statement I give here, it's really you can calculate it. And I give you some examples. For example, the hidden costs of passwords is that with everything calculated. So I forgot my password. I am not able to work right now because I forgot to type in my password. I don't know my password anymore. I go to my IT service. I go there and say, hey, I forgot my password. I can't work. So they have to stop their work maybe and have to help me to reset my password, for example. And that means that you got per employee 11 hours of lost time a year per employee. And it doesn't sound much, but it adds up. This number gets really, really big quickly. And I can show you if you have, for example, 500 employees, that are 5,500 hours lost time just because you use passwords. And that is 687 workdays. And that's the same as 3 full-time employees you just hire for doing nothing. And that's hard to have like 3 full-time employees that do nothing. If you have the money to do that, please call me up. I'm absolutely there for doing nothing and still getting paid. And so this is the first hidden cost of using passwords. You can express it otherwise. For example, you can look at every password reset you have to do. And researchers have shown that that's $70 per reset. And that's also a big factor, big costs. So that's also something you should get rid of. The next thing, also our favorite benefit of going passwordless, because everything we do has a goal to do one thing, and that's to improve your user experience, make your users happy. A password is hard to remember. Maybe I have to choose different passwords for different solutions, and I forgot my password. I need help. That's frustrating. So make your users happy. no more forgetting, same login method everywhere, less frustration for everyone. That's one of our favorite benefits. And the last thing is IT control. The difference between a password and, for example, my smartphone, if it's part of my multi-factor authentication, is I first remember or I recognize it when I lose it, when my smartphone isn't there anymore. I sense that. I see it. Okay, my smartphone is away. I can, for example, do self-service with our products and can block this smartphone as a possibility to log in, to get access. Or I can even go to my IT service and can say, hey, I lost my smartphone. Can you help me? But I've got control over these things. If I lose my password, if my password gets leaked, then I'm not able to sense that. I don't sense, oh, somebody else knows my password. That's not possible. That's the next big topic, IT control. So, and what are the types of passwordless authentication? Our recommendation is choose what suits you best. So the first thing we talked about is something you are, then something you have. So something you have is mobile apps, for example. If I have my smartphone, if I even have company phones, I have this and I log in with fingerprint or Face ID. So there you have your two factors, both passwordless, easy to access with push notification, or if you want an OTP, so one-time password generator. And there you have two factors. It's very easy to use. Bit less modern way with one-time password is also possible, and with the biometrics you added the second factor. So you have passwordless multi-factor authentications. If you don't have company phones, for example, there's also a cheap way to get multi-factor authentication and true passwordless multi-factor authentication. It's, for example, hardware tokens. No phones needed, it's cheap, but it requires typing. Like the one-time password in the smartphone app, it requires typing, but that's the best option if you don't have company phones. Hardware tokens is there an option. Quite cheap and also a good user experience. Just type in the one-time password here and you're good to go. Also in options is built-in biometrics, usually based on the FIDO2 technology. These standards are nice. For example, Windows Hello, Apple Face ID or Touch ID, and those things are built in. Fingerprint readers or Face ID readers, and you don't have to buy extra hardware to add that second factor. So you don't have extra hardware, and it's the most easy of them all because you don't have to buy other things. Another option are hardware keys. Hardware keys like YubiKeys, for example, can also be used with the FIDO2 standard or based on certificates, and they can easily add another factor. For example, you see here a YubiKey with fingerprint solution, and there you have your second factor. Then they are often used with a PIN code as well, but you can use it with a fingerprint. If you use it with a PIN code, it's not quite the same like a password because it's not server based, for example. But with a fingerprint reader, you have your second factor, and really with FIDO, it's a strong authentication possibility. Another possibility are smart cards. If you already have a public key infrastructure, so PKI, and with a PIN code also possible, you can use smart cards, but there again are PIN codes, so it's not true passwordless, but also a possibility to add a second factor. So where to start? if you say, okay, passwordless, it sounds nice. I also want to log in with a login app, just push notification, Face ID, and I'm in. I like it. Hi, how can I start? The first thing we recommend is that you look at the different needs you have in your organizations. Probably it's like that you have different needs in different parts of your organizations. Are they the same anywhere? Probably not. So just do your groundwork and see, do I have everywhere company phones? If yes, that's a possibility. But probably not everyone in your company has a company phone, and not everyone wants to install a login app for their work on their private phone. And then it's important that you do the research and just look what's the best possibility for every part of my company. And then you compare these results with your own security strategy. You can implement security levels. Are you building on zero trust or not? Do you want to use step-up security where passwordless is a foundation, but then requiring more factors for some applications, for not all applications, but for some application? Do you want single sign-on? Do you want that everyone has to use their multi-factor authentication in every application they use, or do you want to have a single sign-on method? And we also can you help with that to find the right security strategy. And then you can choose what types of these authentication possibilities suits your need the best. So certificates you saw, for example, YubiKeys are top level security, but for example, with the PIN, it's not true passwordless. It's top level with the certificates that they are not possible to crack, but it's not true passwordless. You can use the app, but maybe not everyone is having company phones. Are their hardware keys better than company phones? Or maybe, and that's the solution for most of the companies out there, it's a combination of some of the possibilities you see here. And we can help you with that. That's no problem. So we highly recommend doing a pilot project. So proof of concept with some of the users, maybe some of the power users, and there you can find out what is the best way for our company to get passwordless authentication. So the summary, why go passwordless? The first thing is better user experience. Like I said, it's our favorite benefit. It's a better user experience. It's less frustration. Also for the IT department, because nobody or not that many calls anymore from coworkers like, oh, I forgot my password. Can you help me? And we say happy users are secure users, and not the other way, because unhappy users use shadow IT to get their needs, and then you have the next dangers. The next thing is save money and time. Time is money, so you can save a lot of money. It might cost to get it rolling. That's obvious. We all know that, but it's easy to calculate how fast you're getting that money back. If you think about every password you have to reset every time one of your employees isn't able to work anymore because he or she forgot their password. And last but not least, it's of course, it gives you a better security. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but 81% of data breaches are because of stolen or weak passwords. That's a lot, 81%, and with that we can help you. We got all types of passwordless, with the true passwordless, but also with like the mixed ones with YubiKeys and the PIN code. If you want to get enrolling with passwordless authentication, we can help you. If you want to start with the mixed version, that you say, okay, multi-factor authentication makes sense, but maybe some passwords are good. No problem. We also offer self-service with password reset that at least your IT department doesn't have to help their co-workers to get their passwords back or reset their passwords. And we also have the possibility for single sign-on. As I mentioned, it's another way to make it easy for your users. And we have solutions for both, also for publishing it on-prem and making as a single sign-on or on-prem or on web apps, both possible. And yeah, that's it from my side. I didn't watch at the chat. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for giving us an overview on this very interesting topic. I did not receive any questions through the chat, but at this point, I guess it would also be easy to just unmute yourself and ask the questions